Okay, so 2023, am I right? A new year brings new games, and with that comes a lot of questionable takes from gamers in dire need of attention. Which is exactly what I'm craving for. Attention. Crazy coincidence, am I right? Well anyway, like I said, there's a lot of new shit coming out. And since I'm bored and hitting post-nut clarity, I might as well share what I'm looking forward this year. Now since 2023 will be stacked, I've decided to focus entirely on what's coming out in the first half of the year. Kinda. I can't and honestly won't care about every game under the sun. So like Starfield, Tears of the Kingdom. I mean I guess, but like what I really want right now is coffee. I I just I don't know, I just fucking love coffee. Alright, so Coffee Talk was one of my highlights of 2020. Being both a visual novel enjoyer and someone who's blasting lo-fi music at 2 am, the game was kind of made for me. So when the sequel was announced, I was obviously down for the get-go. Now, although it is a new installment, it doesn't seem like the game would have any kind of new gameplay mechanics. It should be the same old brewing coffee shenanigan and listening to the customer ranting about their lives. And honestly, that's all I'm asking for. It is a visual novel, gameplay is secondary. What matters here is the writing, and perhaps more importantly the atmosphere. And seeing how the first game nailed that, the sequel should do just fine. Like Coffee Talk 1 is one of the chillest games you can get right now. It is basically Netflix and chill at home, but instead of getting heads, you get feels and fictional head I guess. And that, y'all, is truly the gamer experience. Ah, Fire Emblem. Tell me you're a dirty weeb without telling me you're a dirty weeb. Well, I personally love Fire Emblem. Not only it is one of my favorite video game series, I'm also to my knowledge one of the very, very few people who's not in it for the first. Well, for the most part.
Command me.
And y'all, let me tell you, Engage looks so fucking sick. Yes, the game is 100% fanservice bait, and definitely targeted towards the heroes weirdos. But, well, I don't really have an issue with that. Wonder why? From the returning of main characters, map, music, even the freaking petting minigames, this is everything I hoped and more. Now, one thing I'm personally looking forward to is the story. You see, I think out of any of the mainline Nintendo games, Fire Emblem always had the best writing, followed closely by Pokemon. Like even Fates, the one generally regarded as the worst one writing-wise, is still a game. And one thing that actually kind of took me by surprise is the tone of the writing. Like the first trailer is pretty upbeat and all, they show you all this colorful character and shit, but then the second trailer dropped, and boom, fucking fire and blood splattered everywhere. I don't know, don't get me wrong. I don't think the game will be one of the most depressing installments like 3RCs or Genealogy, but I am expecting something more along the line of Awakening, with the same amount of goofy and sad vibes, and I mean that as a compliment. When it comes to gameplay, Engage seems to follow a more classic route. We get the return of weapon triangle and daggers units for example, while reintroducing more of the recent shit like the waifu bait or the Turnwing. Or the waifu bait. Or the waifus.
Drop it.
Oh, okay, now that we're on that, can we talk about the fucking character design? Like, everyone is so stylish and cute and pretty as hell. I mean, look at them. My god, I love you already. But I'm not a dirty weeb. Like, nope, not a weeb.
我々の手で覆してやろうじゃないか。
Shit, okay, never mind. So, Process of Elimination is a visual novel slash mystery adventure game where basically a bunch of detectives gather on a remote island and try to catch a serial killer. It's Danganronpa, it's fucking Danganronpa again. Okay, I'm a big fan of murder mysteries, especially in video games.
You fuck young boys, Valdez.
Which is kind of funny because the genre is pretty lacking in the media. But hey, credit where credit is due. Maybe people doesn't want to witness their favorite characters being gruesomely killed for plot purposes. But I sure as hell do.
You so fucking precious when you
And speaking of characters, man, I fucking love the character design. I always love when a character's archetype is conveyed through their design. Like just from one look, I know that this is the sassy bitch of the group. That's the plain boring main C, the MILF, my personified fetish, and so on. And the game even seems to be fairly non-linear for VN. You can gather evidences depending on how close you are to a certain character, and it even has that weird little board game looks going for it. There's clearly a lot of potential here, and at this point I'm just looking for anything to fuel my investigation kink. Not my murder kink though, that's the job of. Okay, so writing, story, deep and interesting characters. That's kind of bullshit, right? I mean, we all know video games are exclusively made to fuel our sadistic needs, right? After all, it's just a bunch of pixels dying, guys. But instead of butchering pixels, why not saying sexy shit? Yeah, I'd fuck that. Okay, hear me out. Atomic Heart looks so fucking sick. You know, as much as I love FPS, I'm kind of generally disappointed by them. Yeah, sure, once a decade you get amazing shit like Doom Eternal, Ghost Runner, or Ultra Kill, but for the most part they tend to blend together, and to some extent I do think there's a lack of creativity in the genre, and I just wish we would get more innovative or at least interesting games. Like, please, major corporations, can we get something else that's not like a zombie game or a World War game? Give us, I don't know, like more wild shit like Sexy Robot, I guess. I mean, look at this shit. This is fucking great, this is hot, this is pretty as fuck, this is kind of disgusting. I've seen people calling that game a Bioshock clone. And that's fair, but I guess a better term would be like Bioshock on crack. Again, I'm not entirely sure what the hell is going on. One thing for certain, that game is going to be wild. And at best it's gonna be one of my favorite game of the year, and at worst we'll get some Rule 34 content out of it. I guess. I hope. Right. Well, since my taste in guys are now out on the open, perhaps I should move on to two games that are very similar and share some of my kinks. The Resident Evil 4 remake and the Dead Space remake. So both games were super influential in the survival horror genre. However, they each have very distinct atmosphere, level design, and writing. And side note, some of the spiciest monster design we can get, but I digress. That's kind of the thing though. What do you want me to say? Capcom has been on a roll lately. The Resident Evil 2 and 3 remakes were some of the most interesting games of the past few years, and so are most of their recent games. So I don't know, I kind of trust they won't fuck it up. Now Dead Space, on the contrary, is made by EA. And by now we all know how much of a dumpster truck EA is. And let's not forget they are the one responsible for shutting down Visceral Games, the original studio behind Dead Space, so you can see why people are unsure. And don't get me wrong, I get that, and maybe I'm too much of a dumb bitch, but I'm kind of hopeful on that one. Everything we've seen so far looks sublime. From the way it looks, the cute slaughterfucks, to the new sound design. Heck, even the guts looks neat, and they're trying to improve the writing. I don't know, I think this game has the potential to be even better than the original. And if not, I'm just glad to see so many new people invested in what is, in my opinion, one of the best horror games ever made. And who knows, maybe now we'll finally get the necromorph porn we deserve. Okay, listen. Since the beginning of the video, I feel like I've strayed away from the path of YouTube shitty monetization rules. I guess I kind of got carried away, huh? You know what? No more of that. Let's just all chill out, okay? No horny, no swearing, no suicidal urges. No thoughts, head empty. After all, we are all meaningless in the grand scheme of things. Think of a plastic bag floating in the sky, or a bug roaming around the dirt. Wait, that's not a bug, that's a tag. Fuck, that bit is too long anyway. Okay, but for reals, how do you want me to behave when the main character is fucking called Hornet? Not that I'm complaining though. Y'all, I am beyond excited for Silksong. Hollow Knight is one of my favorite games of all time, and if you ask me, straight up a masterpiece. Yes, it is that good, and also look at them. I want them. Now, unfortunately, we don't know much about the game. The teaser was pretty tame, but one thing I think is kind of important to note is how big it's gonna be. It seems to be double the scale of Hollow Knight, with massive biomes, more beautiful art, music and bugs, and also very cool looking combat. I don't know what Hornet is smoking, but she's going in. Like Microsoft, please free Team Cherry from their dungeon. It's been 3 years at this point, please, I am begging. And yeah, that's it. Now, ultimately, there's still a few games I'm kind of interested by. Tekken 8 looks dope, Pikmin 4 is a thing, Hogwarts Legacy looks okay, And I guess Nice Spice is the kind of degenerate shit I'm into. But I wouldn't know what to say except like, oh yeah, that's coming out. So yeah, that's it, I guess. That's the end of the video. Okay, fuck you all, bye.